Well, welcome back to the channel, everyone. We are here at Thrash and Supply in Moore Park, California. This morning, we are going to take these 2024s and upgrade them. What are we doing?
Oh, I mean, we're doing what we've been waiting to do. These bikes are great out of the box, but I got to tell you, we're going to do all thrashing components, handlebars, risers, foot controls. Very exciting because the bike is going to be ours now, and I love that.
Well, it's really cool. We're on the 2024 platforms, road glides. We love them so far, but we're going to really improve it. We're going to show you step by step, and then at the end, we're going to show you different riser installations and heights. So stay tuned till the end. Let's get started.
It's going to be great, but one question.
Yeah.
What's that cool hat
You
you're
like
wearing?
that hat? Look at that.
That thing is nice.
Woo!
Yeah, all right, let's do it.
twolanelife.com.
Well, hey, we have our expert, Cole Seeley. We've known him since he's been 4 years old, and he's done so many of these bar installs. He's going to be doing ours today.
Yeah,
What do we do?
It's a little weird. I used to work on my bikes when I was like 5 and 6 years old, so now I get the pleasure of working on your bikes. So I've taken apart these bikes, especially with the hand controls, probably 6 to 10 times already, going through the process R&D, trying to figure out what parts fit, what parts don't, what we need to develop. So I've got a lot of experience at this, so try and show some tricks and tips to maybe the viewers that want to do this, some stuff that'll make it a little easier, and some of the frustrations that I had in the beginning that kind of I've learned to get around.
So what are the first steps?
So we're going to remove the bars, stock risers, stock bushings. We'll show you guys how to take apart the plastic bezel, which is awesome now. You don't have to cut it. These are by far the easiest Harleys, at least touring Harleys, to put bars and risers, get you comfortable, and get you all dialed.
Yeah, you can go right to the tree, right?
Yeah, right to the tree. So we're going to go ahead and remove this plastic bezel. We'll kind of get to some wiring, unplug some stuff, start taking stuff off the bike, go underneath the clamps. Luckily, we have the lift and the center stand. Makes it a lot easier. You can do it without it, but I don't recommend it. It is definitely a pain. But yeah, you guys want to get into it?
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Sweet. All right, so first thing we're going to do, we're going to remove this plastic bezel. So it might break through, but I like to put a little electric tape on a screwdriver. Pull out this key thing first. It's 2 clips, one in the back and then one in the front. Front one gets a little
Point.
There you go.
Dr. Seeley's in the house. This is bike surgery 101.
No, this is new. All right, next up, we're gonna go ahead and remove this plastic. It's a screw, but it's also like kind of one that just spreads. So first little tip, don't take it all the way out. It just loosens itself up and it spreads as it goes in, because it took us a little while to get that little washer out. So then we can start removing the hardware that keeps this plastic bezel on. So then we just got these, what is this, 3/8 on the side. If you have a ratcheting wrench, it makes the job a lot easier. So next, this is just a clip kind of behind the steering lock, and one, I think it's about here. So it's usually easy to try and get this one behind the lock separated first. And this guy, yeah, we're gonna have to raise it up. I've done this so many times with our thrashing bars that you can, when these aren't here, you can get them out without jacking it up, but I think we're probably safest by jacking it up, be able to turn the wheel. Just makes it easier. I'm sure you could squeeze it up, but for the sake of not scratching anything up, I think we're safer taking it off. All right, we got the center stand under there, so now we can move the bars left and right. This, usually, like I said, you can get off with the thrashing bars pretty easily, but kind of gotta just like make yourself some room here, left and right, and hold that. I mean, the cool part about it is it actually comes with a riser now, so it's like you just replace it, put your riser and bar setup, and you're dialed. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do, there's 3 main wires that go to throttle, brake, and clutch hand controls over there. So we're gonna find those wiring harnesses, unplug those, and then we can remove the bars, remove the hand controls, get the bars and risers off. You gotta be pretty careful doing this because these wiring harness things tend to break. So
The cool thing about this is, like Cole said in the beginning, I used to help these guys with their dirt bikes when they were 5 and 6 years old, all the way through their teens, and now they're helping us, so it's kind of cool.
goes around, comes around, right?
Yep.
All right, so we got our wiring harness, our 3 main wires that go to the hand controls, disconnected. So those run through the bars. We're gonna start next by taking off our hand controls, probably just lay them here on the tank, make sure they don't go anywhere. And then we can get the bars and risers off and start the reassembly process. So this is just a T27 stock. I think we'll probably throw some ARPs in here after we grab some. Brake and clutch both have a sensor in them. There's a little bit of like a push button in the back. You can find it through the rubber, or you can peel this back. It's like a little push in, pull out. So that's all that you got to connect, or disconnect that too, so you can kind of get the levers away from the throttle and the fake throttle tube on the left side. As a design standpoint, we were like, man, like we wish we could put a perch clamp on here. Obviously that's missing this year. So really to kind of spice things up, we just add a little bit of ARP hardware to kind of make your hand controls look cooler. But yeah, it's honestly like it's been a while since I've taken apart a 2020 or 2023 and older, and I don't remember it being this easy. Like it is incredibly easy to take this whole system apart and kind of fine tune everything. I don't know if Harley was going for that, but they definitely achieved that. Yeah, hand controls are off. We can really just start taking off the risers now. And it's interesting how they did it this year, because I'll show you the drive-by-wire system in a little bit. It's a different system than used to slip in the end of the bar. It actually is inside of this. So I'm assuming what they did was they tried to get the throttle tube and this is actually a throttle tube also, it's just fixed, away from the bar ends. And in doing so, it kind of makes things a little funky, but nevertheless, it's pretty easy to just take apart and kind of dial in once you get everything. We've made some adjustments to our bar setup to let it be a little bit more, I don't know, fine-tuned, I guess you could say, to run like a moto grip, which we'll probably install on this bike. It kind of brings these away from the bar end, gets a full length, because really this is actually only about 3 inches away from the bar end right now. So you got to kind of move that over in order to get a full-size grip in. I prefer it because it brings the bars even a little bit more narrow. Makes the riding experience a little better, because these stock bars are a little wide. All right, so we're going to start taking apart this, I don't know, control unit, I guess, on the left and right, to see what's going on underneath here and kind of show you guys what the new drive-by-wire system looks like. These bolts do not pull out all the way. There's like a C-clip that holds them, so if you feel like you've been unscrewing for quite some time, you're doing great. So this is our new drive-by-wire system. It's this clip underneath here. It actually goes into a little groove in here, and you can kind of see it spinning in there. So that's, I don't know, that's what tells the ECU what throttle position you're at. And I don't know, I guess it's easier than having the little thing in the bar that twists, but again, it keeps it from about a ½ inch. I'm sure it's for legal reasons, so your throttle can't get stuck. This is a new thrashing part that Juan designed. Basically just mimics the stock one without this grip will not come off. You're gonna have to cut it and grind it and do all kinds of stuff. So we just got these in. I actually, right here, in my little inventory, I set these aside so nobody'd steal them, but I 3D printed 3 of them for you guys. But turns out we don't need them. We got the plastic ones in stock. This is the 3D printed one that we ran to Arizona. The drag strip, it actually lasted a pretty long time. It just makes me nervous. Like, I think I printed actually 3 that I have upstairs to give to you guys in case you did run running these, so that if you ever got stranded on the road, you have some ones to change out really quick. But we'll save those for Josh and Galen's bike, since going on Big Lance's bike. Set this aside for now, though. All right, so same thing on the left side, and we'll get to some of the wiring back here that you have to unplug, as well as you guys can see what I was talking about with this being kind of a dummy throttle tube now. A lot of us here at the shop prefer the moto grips. I'm sure you guys will too, just because it's a little bit of thinner grip. Feels a little bit more moto style, hence the name moto grip. And then there is a third screw right here. That's just a little set screw that, it's not really a set screw, it's more of a safety screw in case your controls ever come loose. You can leave that in, you don't have to mess with that. It's another little tip that we learned along the way of taking these on and off, is that stays in there, don't take it off. So this side, again, this is the one that goes to the clutch. We have one control wire over here. The screwdriver right here, kind of gentle with it. That off, and this whole thing comes off. And here's your fake throttle tube.
Boom, a fake throttle tube. We'll keep it though.
All right, so next we're gonna use a 1/4 inch Allen just to pull the bars off, and then we can, all the wiring will come with it.
So you take the wiring off once it's on the bench.
Exactly. And I've learned an important rule about wiring. with these bars that I'll show you
Okay.
later. All right, so this is all good to come out. These wires do run through the stock clamp setup. We won't do that with the one. There you go. There's your wheelbarrow bars, man. Ready to rip. All right, now that we've got the bars and the wiring all disconnected, next step is to remove the stock little 3-4 inch riser. We're gonna start by removing the ground over here, and we're just gonna take that and just kind of loop it back to the clamp ground, and then we'll come up from underneath. Again, it makes it a lot easier when you have people helping, be able to turn the wheel. Center stand helps a lot because you can actually turn the wheel without any friction. This is by far the hardest part of this step, but comparatively to the old bikes, very easy.
And we're going to change the bushings out as well.
We are going to change the bushings, that's right. Yeah, the stock bushings allow a lot of flex back and forward. So these new bikes are built so well that you don't really feel a lot of that road vibration through those bushings. They're kind of necessary at this point. So go ahead and throw some solid bushings in there. We also have some hardware. Do not use your stock hardware if you do put bushings on this because it will hit your steering lock plate underneath. So Thrash & Supply, we did some research, found some hardware that works, clears that steering plate just fine.
Cool. Let's go.
All right, so there's 2 ways to do this. I'm gonna do it the kind of lazy way, but quicker way in my opinion. If you're working alone, it's actually easier to come up top, take out the steer stem, kind of loosen up the clamps off the steer stem and the forks, pull it off, and then you kind of have a little bit easier workspace. But since it has some helpers here today, we're gonna go ahead and tackle this from underneath. It's a 3/4 from underneath. If you have an extension with the wobbly end, it makes it a lot easier because it's not a straight shot up there. So we'll go ahead and loosen those bolts up with these stock risers off. All right, we got a little ahead of ourselves. I forgot to take off the ground wire from the clamp. Luckily, I got my buddies here to help me. Otherwise, I'd be stuck underneath there trying to get this bolt fed through.
But I have to tell you, this is super easy.
Yeah, insane.
I mean, this is crazy that it's just that simple to do this.
Yeah, so now we're gonna pull out the stock bushings, which is basically just like a rubber outside. I'll pull this guy out so you can see it with a cylinder on the inside that as you tighten it, I'm pretty sure it pushes this, yeah, it expands this rubber. I think it's an old school idea of like when you have an FXR, you got a lot of engine rocking back and forth. Right. It's not as stable a platform. So on those, on the FXRs and some of the older bikes, we do recommend just running it good and tight. Even the new Softail R clamp is solid mount, no bushings needed. With these, I mean, it's such a comfortable bike on the road. I mean, if you like it, you like it. Yeah. If not, we suggest not running it because you're not really going to get any of that. And it dampens the steering feeling. When you go to turn into a turn, it's a little delay. Almost feels like an old school car or something. Yeah. These solid mount bushings change the whole feel of the ride. Yeah, so when we took off that riser, you saw that stock ground location on the actual riser. We don't need it anymore because our new risers do not have them. So I mean, you could technically just snip this. We like to just keep it safe and easy and just relief it back to the bolt that originally grounds to the clamp. So now we're all done with that. If you guys are ready, we can start putting on some solid bushings and risers and start building this thing up.
Let's do it.
All right, so we got our Thrash & Supply 9.5 inch pull-back risers, which we have figured kind of like for our height. We're all kind of the same height. These are what's working best for us with the mid-bend bar. We're gonna pair that up with some solid mount bushings. I touched on it earlier. This is the stock hardware. Obviously, it's not going to be the right length once you kind of put it through the hard bushings. You can see we're not left with a lot of thread. Damn bikers. Not left with a lot of thread, at least not enough to make us comfortable with, I don't know, having a secure mounting point. So we did some developing and kind of found the right hardware to run with this. Again, this is too short. It is a little bit lower, so obviously they want some clearance there. So we had to find a low pro head, match it with a spacer, kind of a little bit of putting things together, taking them off. We've done the research for you, so these are on the website if you want to pair them up with the Thrash and risers. So.
And you always use Loctite.
Always use Loctite. Anytime there's, we just talked about this, but anytime aluminum, when you have a harder metal going into aluminum, Loctite, sometimes anti-seize, but in this case, we're going to be using Loctite for these instances. Probably not going to be removing them ever.
So this is some great parts. Where can they get these?
Well, I was just going to say, so twolanelife.com, and we'll have some bundles for the 2024 models. We already have bundles for the older bikes. but you're going to need a different bar setup, and we'll show you that as we go through this. The riser bolts are also on our website, as well as the bushing, so we'll put that in a nice bundle for you, easy to click on and buy.
TwoLaneLife.com.
All right, what do you want facing up, Lance? This is your bike. The solid bushings come with 2 black, 2 silver. So you have the option of throwing the blacks underneath and putting the raw on top. So you see raw, vice versa.
Raw on top. Fine.
Raw on top. All right, let's do it. Time to place the risers in. So I'm gonna put the bushing with the hardware in here first, just to kind of get it kind of a longer bolt. So we want to get it kind of set in there, and then we're gonna go.
And
Lance opted to run the
what
raw.
about the Loctite?
Oh, Loctite. Can you go grab the form? We just talked about that. We're already forgetting.
Helps having a few extra hands, huh?
Yeah. All right, I gotta get the tool.
Okay.
What I'm gonna do is get this just before snug. We're not gonna torque spec everything yet. Hence why I'm using a regular wrench. Then we can throw the other one on, throw the top clamp on, just so we make sure that everything is nice and square. So we don't have one tight, kind of crooked and cockeyed. So we'll fight that later. So we're gonna kind of follow those steps. All right, so we got the risers on. They are still a little loose, which we left them light on purpose before we torque them down. I want to put the top clamp on just to make sure that everything is square and nice and lined up before we set that torque. Because like I mentioned earlier, if one of these is kind of cockeyed a little bit, then you're gonna be fighting it the whole way. So I'm not gonna tighten these down all the way yet, just because they don't have any heating seals on them yet. So these going, and then we'll get into there and start torquing the risers. All right, now that we got the top clamp nice and snugged up, everything is square and true to itself, we can go ahead and start torque specking the bottom riser bolts. Again, this is kind of a back and forth process, but bikers doing burnouts, dude.
Hold on.
Torque specs, always refer back to your owner's manual. Very important. Harley is very vague. It's usually like a I know for like clamps, it's like a 16 to 21 or something like that. So they're pretty vague about their torque specs. We usually like to go on the tighter end, just because we're like you guys, we ride a lot.
We don't do dad tight?
A little TAF.
Quiet on set, man. We're busy here.
Hey. All right, so got our risers on. Next, we're gonna put the bars on, but first we need to get the stock wiring out, or the wiring out of the stock bars. Little tip. I made this mistake. Wiring goes out this way towards the end of the bar. These plugs are a lot smaller than these ones. Got these stuck in here for about an hour trying to get them out. So learn from me and my mistakes. But other than that, pretty easy. They do use these further in holes. So remember that when you're putting them back in the new bars.
So that's a good tip that we're bringing to you right here. You can call us in our office too, and we'll tell you the stuff like this, but good tip. Out, not in.
I like to find a nice little seat to get this done, because these stock bars are rather long. So again, these white plugs that plug into the wiring harness go in that way and out the ends.
And is it easy for the customer to know right or left side, or does it matter?
So if you get to this part of the build and you forgot which side is which, the easiest way to remember is the throttle side, or the right side has 2 plugs. We got, throttle position sensor, some of the controls in that. I'm assuming probably the brake light switch. Clutch side, at least for the base models, is just 1 plug and then 2 plugs on the end. So right side throttle side has more plugs. All right, so we're gonna start with the throttle side. Since it is the thicker one, we have less obstructions as we get it through here. Sometimes it can be a little hard to start. I've actually, if you do get stuck, I know our high bend bars have a little bit more of a bend here and a bend here. A little trick that I've learned for that is you actually go get a air chuck and run some air through here as you're pushing, and then it'll kind of unbind everything.
We used to throw some powder in there.
That works too. Yeah, pretty much anything to kind of get the rubber from sticking like it's doing right now.
But we only did that when Lance had his little baby at the office, and there was some powder around.
Had baby powder on hand.
Yeah.
What are the 3 holes on the handlebars now?
So now, obviously with the last previous generation bar setup, we had kind of like the slits here for the drive-by wire. This is all Your wiring goes in the one closest to the center of the bar. This one is actually a safety mechanism that Harley kind of integrated into their whole setup to where if the perch clamps come loose, you can only turn the throttle so far, or it can't like completely go backwards or forwards on itself. I'm assuming these are for heated grips, so your wiring harness might look different if you have, say, a CVO model or something that has an extra feature on it. We have not come across a bike yet that has those features, so this is as far as I'm familiar with.
So the difference on this bar also, it's 1.5 inches longer than the regular standard thrashing bar, right?
I think without the cutout, it's a little bit wider. This mid-bend bar is same as our last one. This is our best-selling bar. Seems like everyone gravitates towards this bar. I was just talking to Lance the other day about it. I feel like this bar was made for these new bikes. I feel like this is a really good kind of bar bend to run if you're anywhere from, I think Juan's 5'7", 5'8"-ish. I'm about 5'11", so kind of fits everybody within that range group. If you're a little taller, maybe switch to the high bend bar. But a riser, you know, different riser components, different heights of the riser, pull back of the riser, you can always kind of achieve the, you know, platform or, you know, riding where you want to be in the saddle, all that. You can achieve that with our different spacers and stuff like that.
Again, twolanelife.com.
All right, so now that we got our bars all wired up, took the top clamp off. Like I mentioned before, we did not put any Loctite, ANCs or anything like that on there, so didn't, just snugged them up, took them back off, and now threw some ANCs on there. What I like to do is put a little bit on the threads themselves and then a little bit on the head, just when you're clamping down to aluminum, it's a little soft, so I like to make sure nothing's binding. Lance went with the mid-bend bar with a 9.5 inch riser. We're gonna kind of get those relatively where we want and centered. It does help a lot when you have a second person here to hold the bars. I've done this many times by myself. It is a pain in the ass to try and line everything up by yourself.
Just got to find the comfort zone.
Yeah, so rule of thumb that I always go with, and everybody's different, I like to kind of clamp them down a little bit and then kind of go from the side of the bike. I like the angle of the risers to be somewhat parallel with the sweep of the bar.
And how's the angle right now with me just sitting here?
Right now you are almost exactly parallel. You can go forward a tiny bit, but again, like I said, it's all, everybody's arms are different, everybody's body build is different, so the position will vary person to person.
I think the other thing worth noting, you offered chrome and black bars, and now what are you running here?
We got stainless bars on here. I'm kind of liking it. I don't know if you guys are offering stainless.
I believe we will be offering stainless shortly. This is kind of a prototype, but we wanted to kind of see how they weather, how the durability of them. We obviously know how chrome and black holds up. It's had it for many years, but I think you guys are probably the best case for us to see how these things are going to do being on the open road.
Well, so that's what we love, right? We got to test this stuff out. Floorboards, all sorts of different things we're going to do up today. It's going to be great when we get these things done, but it looks great right now.
All right, we jumped the gun again. Kind of the order of operations has to go. These cables, they do need to run on the outside of the clamps, so we had to take our top clamp back off, and unfortunately Lance messed up his perfectly set bar position, but we'll get it dialed back in. We fixed our mistake, put the cables on the outside. We're gonna go ahead and plug these wiring harnesses back in, and then we have a sheath that's gonna kind of go in the middle of the risers just to kind of hide the wiring, make it look a little bit more dialed. All of these plugs under here, you can't plug them in the wrong plug because they are all different sizes and different pins and different layouts. So just find the correct male to female and click them back in.
That makes it easy.
Yeah, I find a lot of the newer bikes that I take apart, you can't really mess up a plug because there's only one that goes into the correct one. All right, we're gonna start by, we're gonna do the non-throttle side first just so we can get an eye on where we want this to be as opposed to where we want our grip to be. Well, so there's a little recess right there for that wire, just make sure that lines up nice. These really won't like fully tighten down until you get the perch clamp back on. So we're just gonna snug them up a little bit. There's also that safety screw that kind of, it'll find its way into that receiving hole to make sure that it can't rotate too far. So I'm gonna leave that kind of loose so that we can get our grip on, make sure we want it where it is. And then this is gonna actually go over the edge of our grip. There's a little channel here that'll slip into,
So on this bike, you don't need a tube on this side. You just need the grip.
Just need the grip, yeah. So this is gonna be that thin feeling I'm talking about, because you're not having a grip and plastic to the bar. It's just straight to the bar. I know on all of my bikes, like my Dyna and my FXO that I used to have, I used to run like Sportster grips before Thrashin had grips, because I like that thin feeling. Now with the bagger setup, it's easily achieved with just a Thrashin grip and with the Thrashin throttle tube. All right, we got this all buttoned up, kind of measured out the grip. We did end up needing to cut off one of the rings, so made sure it was nice and where we wanted it. This is not tight, so I can still move it, so we can still kind of get the levers on there, adjust the height where Lance wants it. And now we're gonna start with the throttle side.
So when he says cut off one of the rings, this is what he meant. You have to cut off the first line of the grip right there. It fits perfect.
All right, so we got our Thrashin Moto grip onto the Thrashin throttle tube. These kind of just spin that. That's what I was trying to show earlier. That's how the throttle by wire system works now. So easiest way to do this is just kind of go in from the top, make sure it gets into those, no, I'm going backwards. Make sure it gets into those grooves, and then that this is sitting inside of that groove inside the throttle housing. Then put it on the bar as one assembly. And again, these plugs, there's really no wrong way to do it, because they're all different plugs, front brake. And this nub is going into that safety hole that I mentioned earlier.
I know it's alive because my screen just lit up.
Yep. She's ready to rip, almost.
You know, while this is happening, Juan and Galen are back there getting their bike started, so the handlebars are going to be coming off and going on that bike, and then we're going to get into foot controls.
All right, so now we're going to start on the getting the perches back on. Some of these cables do want to fight you a little bit, so kind of get them in place. We're going to use some ARP hardware, dial your bike in. You're kind of limited on these. On the old bikes, you could really get them looking good with the actual perch. This is a little bit different setup, so we decided to make it a little bit better looking with some ARP hardware up top.
And wouldn't you know it, we have a couple fans in the showroom that want to see us, so let's go say hi.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so first thing, we want to make sure that we plug in the wiring harness back into the clutch and this guy into the front brake. Make sure you put it in the right way. A huge part of going back together, reassembling the throttle, is you want to make sure your throttle is nice and free. The two things that I've noticed in assembling these, because I've put them on so many times, is it's really easy to put it too far, like where the end of the throttle tube is hitting the bar and it's not letting it snap back properly. The other thing is these two perch clamp bolts. If you tighten one of them more than the other and it's offset, it can add some drag to it, and it'll make your throttle feel a little like more firm than stock, and it won't return as fast. So yeah, those are just the two parts once you do an aftermarket throttle tube setup or any aftermarket kind of accessories on the handlebars that I've noticed.
So it took a few times, maybe 4 times, before we actually got it to where it would flow free by tightening the perch clamp.
Yeah,
but
so
I think what's cool is you've now gone to a different grip. They're not the molded grips anymore. You've gone to something you're going to like. It's a little bit thinner.
And you're actually getting, like I mentioned before, probably 3/4 of an inch total, more like closer to the center of the bar, which in my opinion is a little bit better for riding.
Well, I was running the knurled grips, and I'm feeling these. I think I'm going to like these just as much.
Throwing the nacelle, is that what you call it? Back on. I keep calling it a bezel because I don't know why. Do the same thing on the other side, clip them together, and we'll start putting the hardware back in. So again, there's 2 clips, one in the back and one up top here that you can see.
And he's tightening it back up there, looking good in there. You know, these are prototype bars. They're stainless. They are making stainless. If I decided to change, I can always do the chrome or black. But I don't know, I'm kind of liking this look right now.
Yeah, it's pretty easy once you have the risers on to swap between bar setups. So sure, down the line, if you guys want to switch up the colors or something like that, it's easy to do. Also, just want to mention that I'm tightening the side ones first. I found it through the process. It's a lot easier because it kind of forces everything into the center, and then it's a lot easier to line up the other holes.
Nice.
All right, final step. You want to do the honors?
Sure. This is putting the ring on the finger right here, right?
Yep.
Boom.
Done.
Are you done?
Done. Bars are done.
Well, fire it up.
What? We got to work on stuff down there.
It's not going to be hot.
I don't know.
All right, so we got the hand controls all dialed in, 9.5-inch pullback risers with the mid-bend bar. Looks like you're pretty happy with the way everything's laid out now. Wanted to note that you still can see your gauges perfectly fine. One of the awesome features of having the digital gauge is you don't need to relocate anything. I think we're all set with our hand controls. What do you guys want to do next?
Well, we're finishing up on mine, and I'm doing the 9.5 black with the high bend stainless. So I'm pretty stoked on that. But I think we're going to do some hard parts on the floorboards and brake arms and shift arms and get these bikes dialed in. What do you think?
Let's do the brake arm.
Brake arm? All right, let's do it.
So we're out front of Thrashing. We just finished up. Really appreciate this. I ran the 9.5 pullback riser with the high bend bar. I'm 6 feet tall, and I feel like I'm in my original riding position from the last couple of bikes. So I'm really digging this, and I can't wait to run it. And what do you have?
I'm feeling really good on this setup here. You know what? I got the 9.5 pullbacks. I went with the mid-bend bar. I love the fit. I love the floorboards that we did. Everything's tight, ready to go. I can't wait to hit the road with these suckers. What did you do, Josh?
So I did the 9.5 pullbacks and the mid-bend bars. I was kind of stuck between both of their setups, and I think initially I'm going to stick with this and eventually put on a 1-inch spacer on the 9.5 pullbacks. I'm 5'8", and it's a really natural seating position. I do have the Saddleman seat, which sits me up a little bit higher, but I'm looking forward to riding this because I was getting tired of those stock bars.
Well, we started the day here at Thrashing in Moore Park, and we're ending the day here at Thrashing in Moore Park.
What a day. We put all the parts on. I mean, we couldn't have done it without Cole. Cole, thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries. We've been kind of planning this for a couple of months now, so knew you guys were taking delivery of your bikes, set some parts aside for you guys to pick up, and I just knew how easy it was to put all this stuff on. I was so excited to kind of help you guys along the way and get your bikes all dialed.
Well, it's been fun to ride with you and get to know you over the years, and it was fun to wrench with you today, I got to tell you, and you got it dialed in. I mean, we can get these things done quick.
Yeah, no, it's been cool. I mean, Lance and I have known each other for 30 plus years now, so I mean, he worked on my bike, so I got to return the favor now. And we got some parts here at Thrashing specifically designed for the new 2024 platform, so as soon as we get those in stock, we're going to have to dial you guys in.
And they're all available at twolanelife.com. Come and see us, man, because we can help you out.
And want to thank your son.
Yes, thank you,
He hooked us
Lance.
up. Thank you, guys. Thank everyone at the shop. Thrashing Supply, you're the best, and we run the best.
Jake, Juan, everybody, everyone on board here is awesome. We love you all, and you know, hey, we're gonna go on a trip.
You have dinner reservations.
Yeah, let's go
get
on
the
a
hell
trip
outta
and
here.
hit the road. Yeah.